Right now, the unhinged 24/7 destroy Trump, anti-Trump media continues to lose credibility by the second, especially as they use the passing of President George H.W. Bush to attack President Trump. Unfortunately, they're just behaving as I told you that they would, and that is the subject of tonight's mini monologue. All right, so as the nation mourns the loss of President George H.W. Bush, well, many in the media, they continue to use his death and incredible legacy to denigrate President Trump. Their tactics are getting more disturbing as they move on. Just look at how the mainstream media went after the president for paying his respects to the late 41st Commander-in-Chief. Take a look.
Could not help, as an American having lived through the last 3.5 years, or 3 years, 2 years especially, to apply words to moments over those last 2 years and go, wow, wouldn't it have been nice and different if?
It became uncomfortable when every one of the people who eulogized the 41st president talked about civility, talked about generosity. You could feel the unstated, I mean, it was a contrast.
I think Prince Charles has felt more comfortable in New Guinea than this president felt here today.
He's not one to mend fences too readily. I think he's doing this because he feels he has to do it. I can't help but wonder if there was a thought bubble over Donald Trump's head just now, what he was thinking as he stood there. I
have to imagine he was thinking, how much longer do I have to stand here?
Pretty shameful, sickening, but not at all surprising. Now, Rush Limbaugh, appearing with our own Shannon Bream, he didn't hold back in calling out this media hypocrisy. Let's take a look at what Rush says.
It's phony. They never treated him this way when he was president. They were vicious to him, like they are vicious and partisan to every Republican. I think it's just a vehicle for them, Shannon, to be able to contrast what they think Trump is versus the way they're telling us Bush was.
All right, you see what's going on. Like we saw with Senator McCain, most in the mainstream media, they do a complete 180, forgetting their once vicious and nasty coverage, like when Senator McCain was running for president. New York Post columnist Michael Goodwin, who will join us in a moment, wrote a column this week entitled, Democrats really do love Republicans when they're dead, and Goodwin exposes just how low the press will sink to try and score cheap political points against their political enemies. And by the way, these tactics have serious implications. For example, President Bush's granddaughter, Jenna Bush Hager, she's opening up about how nasty the media can be, reflecting on Newsweek's infamous wimp cover of her grandfather from decades ago. Take a look.
He spoke softly and he didn't speak about himself. He was humble. But why did that have to equate to being a wimp? And it didn't to us. He was our hero.
If you're not outspoken and you're soft-spoken, you're a wimp. Otherwise, you're Donald Trump and you're too abrasive. All part of a pattern. Smear a person's name when they're alive. Create a veneer of bipartisanship and unity once they pass, just so they can attack their new political enemies. In this case, furthering to bludgeon Donald Trump. Here with reaction. Fox News contributor, New York Post columnist Michael Goodwin is with us. Former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer, also a Fox News contributor. Here it is. Dems love Republicans when they're dead. Michael Goodwin, the fact is it's true.
Yes, it is sad, Sean. You're right. That, and as I point out in the column, this all sounds similar. He's a hero. He's a genial gentleman. He's a patriot. He's a great American. And they said the same thing about John McCain when he was in his coffin. But when they were alive, this same media attacked them relentlessly, accused them of racism, of stirring up, fomenting trouble everywhere, of taking the country backwards. They attacked their Supreme Court nominees with the same way that Brett Kavanaugh was attacked. So there is a pattern, except when they die, then suddenly they were the great Americans. In this case, of course, they are being used. Those virtues are being used against Donald Trump. So it's really a double whammy for the Democrats in this day and age.
They did the same thing with Ronald Reagan, John McCain, Ari, with 41 and 43. You're very close to the Bush family. You were there when they were bludgeoning 43. I mean, that was a daily. I didn't think it could get worse, but it's gotten worse. Let me put it this way. When I die, all you liberals out there that hate me, don't change what you really think of me. Just say it. Just be honest. It's cool. It'll be all right. I'm going to give you a pass. from heaven if I'm ever invited in.
Sean, you know, here's the one that to me speaks volumes. And it was the New York Times when George H.W. Bush, as president, went to visit a trade show and saw absolute brand new technology for scanning products at a supermarket. Nobody had seen it before. And the New York Times story, front page, Bush encounters the supermarket, amazed. Here's the lead of the story. The career politician who lived the cloistered life of a top Washington bureaucrat for decades is having trouble presenting himself to the electorate as a man in touch with middle-class life. This now is the man that the New York Times and others are holding up as a role model for all Americans because of his goodness, because of his principle, because of his civility. They mocked him relentlessly. And the thing about that story, it was 100% fabrication. That never happened. The New York Times wasn't even at the event, and that was not what Bush was amazed about. And the New York Times just ran that story, and they haven't corrected it yet. That's correct. Dan Rather lied about 43, fabricated information about Bush.
Well, you know, let me ask you this. So if you're soft-spoken like 41, you're a wimp in the media's eyes. If you're iconoclastic and combative like Donald Trump, you're, you know, a brute, and this is unacceptable to the office. So you can't win, can you? And now all of a sudden, now they hated 43, Ari, now they love him. Now, we'd take him back in a minute. No, they wouldn't. They would be all over him in 5 seconds.
No, and you know, I remember in the 2000 campaign when George W. Bush was running against John McCain, the press was all for John McCain. And I remember thinking to myself, as soon as John McCain were ever to beat George Bush, they'll go against John McCain. They'll switch on a dime. And they did. And that's the way they always are.
Last word, Michael.
Well, yes. I mean, look at the way John McCain was treated when he ran against Barack Obama. Then he was just another dirty Republican. They loved him in 2000, and that's right. But by 2008, he was just another dirty Republican. Now he's dead, and so he's great.
Yeah, amazing. Save the lies if I ever pass away. Just speak the truth. Just say what you really feel. All right, when we come back, we've got an update. Remember the story we brought to you earlier this week? That school, that teacher ruining Christmas for 5- and 6-year-olds? We got an important update, and you won't believe why one church put a Christ in a cage to make a cheap political point on Christmas. Unbelievable. Straight ahead.